There's also a very like you can talk about subscriptions, right? Many of us have heard about Netflix subscriptions, Hotstar subscriptions. So Netflix had subscriptions prior to it, but Indian startups as in Hotstar, and then you have Nykaa, these didn't have. Amazon Prime is one such thing. These didn't have subscriptions as in aligned with them. So it also like reduces the hassle wherein customer has to basically every month go and like pay some amount. So it's like you are subscribed, the amount automatically gets deducted. So this was not possible prior. So this was basically start in India. It was started off by Razorpay, and it made like things very smooth for startups or so. Yeah.
So, so basically, Razorpay is an Indian startup, and now
Yeah.
it's become a huge company.
Yeah, it is growing. It is actually growing exponentially for now.
Yes.
So the thing is, like it's like when you talk about Razorpay, it's not just a payment gateway. There are many other things that it offers. Even I joined like 2 months back. Even I don't know many of the features that it offers. I'm kind of exploring those too.
All right. So,
Yeah.
all right. So our next question is, what challenges did you face before getting a job at Razorpay?
The biggest fear I would say is the fear of getting started, right? So post Amazon, like post Razorpay, I had done my internship at Amazon, and then like my internship got over at I think 20th of July, and then I had and I joined Razorpay at 4th of August. So that was a 10-day time. So during that 10 days of entire time, like I got like getting into like from switching from one company to other company in 10 days was a very big thing for me. So yeah, that is one thing. But yeah, like I had a backup of TCS Digital at my hand at that time. So yeah, it was pretty challenging. I would tell it was one of the toughest 10 days that I've been like starting from like giving out or give like enrolling and then getting the resume shortlisted and moving forward. It was a pretty difficult one. And the biggest fear I say you is of starting again. Like how do you basically go on with starting your coding parts again? You just feel okay, now you have to sit for a new company again and like 6 months no practice of coding because you were completely in an internship. So yeah.
Yeah, Vidya. Our next question is, how tough was the recruitment process of Amazon? As you mentioned, you were the intern of Amazon.
Yeah.
What was the recruitment process exactly?
So, so Amazon comes like for two different things. One is, let me make it very clear. One is for SD, and other is for the other roles, that is support engineer role or system development engineer role. So, like when I first go about talking, let me first talk about the support engineer sys dev role that it came like for which I got selected. So it was basically the first part was you get the online assessment thing. So you'll be getting mostly everything in that assessment, like DBMS, like networking, everything. And based on in which of the department you score the highest, they'd be giving you the roles for that. Like they'll be interviewing you for that role. Supposingly, if I get a very good score at DBMS, I would be shortlisted for a data engineer. If I get a very good score in testing, so I would be shortlisted for the testing role. So it was like that. So I got shortlisted for a support engineer role. And then later we had two rounds of interviews. So the interviews for this support engineer is quite different when you compare it to an SD. So the first round it is all coding. So it is mostly all coding. So first round was basically on a few questions that were on, I guess, trees and trees and then linked lists and all stuffs. But then when you sit for a support engineer role, you too are asked about your basics, as in you are asked about like they asked me a lot about Unix. Okay, so we have those Linux commands, right? So they asked a lot about it. So if you want to go for Amazon internships, like not for the SD one, you should be very good in Linux, I would tell you. You should be able to do the Linux commands, like whatever they tell you. Supposingly, let me take it very simply. If you are to copy something from one file to another file, you should be able to do that live, or like using the Linux commands. So that is one thing. Next there were two coding questions. Those were pretty fine to solve. So and then they would even ask you networking and all, because this is not an SD thing. So they went around like this. And then once you're shortlisted for this first round, the second round was all about coding. You like they gave two coding questions. One was on trees and the other one was on, I think that the other one was on arrays also. So yeah, and you do not have a HR round when you go for an internship thing. So it's just the coding and the assessment. But talking about the SD part, when you sit for an SD role, that would you they wouldn't ask you about the OS and the networking part in the interview itself, in the technical coding interview itself. That would be asked, I guess. Like the HR round is like, when you think of HR round, right? It is not the HR round that like we actually imagine, the simple HR questions. That would be mostly technical. So in that thing, you'd be asked about your internships, your projects, and whatever they want to ask about the networking and all questions. So yeah, so I would summarize this as you should be really good in coding to get the SD part. Like, yeah, you should be extremely good. You should be having the competitive programming things. You should have given like most of the contest to get there as an SD. But for the support engineer thing, if you're good with your basics, as in if you're good with your basics of trees and basics of linked list graphs, and you know how to like solve the general questions, you would be good to go for that.
So right now you covered a lot of areas such as data structures and networking and competitive programming in general, right?
Right.
So what kind of resources did you use to get acquainted with this stuff, which landed you an internship at Amazon?
Okay, so for that, I basically started off with Hacker Earth. I would say Hacker Earth has a very good, I mean, you can study off from there the data structures and algorithm part. It has a very good tutorial series. You can follow that, but do implement the data structures yourself after learning the concepts also. So yeah, it will strictly improve with practice. And then you can try off with lead code, or you can, if you just want to test yourself, just give contest, as much contest as you can. You can give lead code contest. They have weekly, bi-weekly contests, and there's no need to go for a lead code premium subscription or so. That's completely a waste of money, I would tell. You can practice it yourself too. And then you can just go with a GFG. You have those interview experiences. You can, before, like, like every company has their own set of things for interviews. Like when you sit for Deloitte, right, you are not you're not supposed you're not focused mostly on coding. You have to focus on other things too, like projects and whatever is mentioned in your resume. Deloitte doesn't ask coding questions that much. So I suggest you, like, you just before going for a placement, just you'll have to be like thorough with like what would be the pattern that they would follow and what are the kind of questions they ask, that you can get from GFT. That is pretty simple to get.
Yeah, Vidya. Uh, so throughout this journey, what was the most traumatizing situation during your placements and how did you handle it?
Okay, so during my placements, I would tell, okay, the first company I remember that came was Deloitte. And yeah, so Deloitte basically comes from for three different roles, right? So for the analytics part, that like I basically enrolled, they just selected one people, one person. So that was the first, like you sit for the first company, first placement. And then like I remember, like there were five of us shortlisted for the HR thing. And like we went till the HR round, and like just one got selected. So that was like like starting the placements and not being selected in the first company, reaching to that point, that was one of the traumatizing thing. But yeah, when you think about those stuffs, it actually doesn't matter, like in the long run it doesn't matter. There'll be lots and lots of opportunities coming down your path. You just have to grab those and just work upon it. It's not like once you like it's okay to feel sad for a day or for 2 days, but it's completely fine. You just have to get up and then you just have to move forward with other opportunities. Yeah, and like even the Amazon thing, I applied for the internship. I did a 6-month internship, and post that I wasn't offered a pre-placement offer over there. So I told, right, like switching from Amazon to Razorpay in those 10 days were also very traumatizing for me. But I had this fear in my head that okay, I'll have to start off again. But literally, like before Amazon, I didn't have anything in my hand, but after Amazon, I had something in my resume. So my Razorpay resume, my Razorpay like experience, placement experience was completely different from others. So in Razorpay, wherein I give my online assessment, followed by that, I had a technical interview wherein they were coding, and mostly it was about databases. Later on, my third round, right, which was supposed to be on projects and your internships, it was completely on Amazon. Like, what were the challenges I faced? It was everything that I did in the 6 months. So yeah, that experience was quite different from others that I had, right, in the starting. So yeah, you'd be having tons of those things like your path, like many you'll be getting rejected from few of the things, but that should not matter in the long run.
Okay, so you must have done a lot, to get where you are today, right? So, what is the one thing that you would correct from your college life and would not want any of us to repeat? Anything like that?
Okay.
Yes.
So I guess majority of you are from second years or third years, right? So if you are in your third year, I will tell start from today itself. The only thing that I regret I should have done is I should have started a bit more earlier, as in my 2-1 or 2 second years, like 2-2, I should have started practice like more of the competitive coding part. So like the main thing is just getting starting over, and once you just start over and you are into that thing, you practice continuously, you'll basically get through it. So the only thing that I regret is not starting. You have, like, you guys, every one of you have time to just start. Just once you start, right, you'll get the flow, and just don't stop practicing. That the only thing that I regret is that okay, like I started in my 3-1, I guess, or 2-2, the ending part. But like okay, I started in my 2-2, I guess. So but still I felt the need that okay, if I would have started in my 2-1, I would have been better by this time. So the only thing is just start early.
Yeah, Vidya. So you switched from your college life to job life, which the both are entirely different. So how difficult or easy was the transition from student life to your job life?
Okay, so talking about the transition part, right? I tell I'm still in a transition state. So yeah, you get adapted to that. It is quite difficult. No, it won't be that difficult, but it is quite different, right? Getting up for the meetings, and like you're not just studying something theoretically. You have the thing that okay, you'll take up your own tasks and you have to perform your own tasks, and it won't be theoretical anymore. And it's like you'd just have to know a bit more about yourself, as in what you want to do in the long run. Like when you enter a company, like entering does not mean you have to stop learning cannot stop. You just have to keep learn, and basically you just have to find out what you want to do in the long run. That I would say is one of the challenges in the transition. Like you have to be strong at something so that you can hold on for the long run and just move forward with it.
Okay. So you touched upon this question already, but I'll still ask. You interviewed at both Amazon and Razorpay, right? So apart from the technical part, what questions they asked and all that stuff, how was the interview experience overall?
Okay, so the interview experience was like I would tell in both of one thing that I would say is like I had like I cleared TCS digital interviews like while I was in college, right? So the thing is, while sitting for TCS, I was nerve wracked, like really bad. I was very nervous and all stuff because that is a difference. At that point, I didn't have any other backup thing. I didn't and like I wasn't having any like offer in my hand. But when I sat for Amazon, when I sat for Razorpay, I had one offer in my hand. Like I was having TCS in my hand, so it went pretty chill, as in like it's fine, let's give it. The Amazon thing was to just like that, okay, it's fine, let's give it just give it a try. If I get through it, it's fine, otherwise it's okay, I have TCS digital in my hand. But then like I'd suggest a few like when even now when you are placed, right, just don't stop. Like just even now you must be in your 4-2, right? You have time till April, you have time till June, I'll say. You have time till June. Even if now you start coding really good, by next year April or May, you would be ready to basically give any kind of interviews. So yeah, so the only thing is it would be an advantage if you have some offer in your hand. You would be pretty much chill in interviews, like okay, if I get through it, it's fine, otherwise you'll have that thing in mind. That's the only thing, I basically experienced this when I was in Deloitte, when I gave interviews for TCS, when I gave interviews for these companies, I didn't have anything in my hand, any offer in my hand. So I was the nervousness, the things were on a very different level. So but now when you have something in your hand, it goes like okay, it's fine if it's there or not. So yeah, that is one of the differences that I faced, and that is something, being really chilled and being really relaxed while giving an interview, it goes in a very different way. And that is something that the results of it has been really good, like as in I have. So like I sat for both of the interviews and I really got through both of those. So yeah, the results were really good.
Could you share some tips on cracking interviews at big companies like Amazon?
The only tip I can share you about it is just do hell lot of coding practices as much as you can. If you have time, just do 2 questions daily. Just be really good in your basics. If you're really good in your basics, you'll get through the interviews. Like not getting to an Amazon does not mean you just can get into as an SD. I have seen like there was one when while I was interning, there was a guy like who joined as a system development engineer. Uh, for which the coding questions are not that tough. The coding questions aren't as that tough. But 1 year down the lane, he got converted to a SD thing. He got converted to a software developer. So I would suggest just practice. If you feel you can just go, you can just try lead code hard questions, or you can try for code forces, code chef. You can just do those two. But I would say if you haven't started, just start with just start with anything that you any language first of all that you feel it's good. So I'd suggest you to start with either Java or you go with C++ while going for a coding interview, right? So you can try these two and just go through just go, like select one language, go in depth of that language, because it doesn't matter when you sit for an interviews, right? It doesn't matter which language you are solving the question is, like unless you're solving it. So yeah, that is one thing. And being good at data structures and algorithm, even now if I want to try for some other company, right, they would definitely ask me about data structures and algorithms. I remember like I was talking to one of my seniors, like who basically moved for MS like this year itself. But while he did a job like for 2 years, and post that he moved for MS. So I continuously messaged him and I asked him like, while doing the job, how did you prepare? Like how did you basically kept your DS and algo all brushed up so that like yeah, even now I used to ask him, and he just tells me even now, even if you're placed, even if you're doing your job, just solve one question daily, so that when you want to switch 1 year down the lane, 2 years down the lane, those questions would come up. Any if you want to switch to a fan company, those DS algo thing, you cannot just leave that and you cannot get it. So that has to be there.
Okay, so you are again and again reiterating on competitive programming and the
Yeah,
programming skills you want, right?
yeah,
So developing competitive programming skills is an everyday thing, right? You need to practice every day and do questions
yeah.
every day. So how did you keep yourself motivated, every day to get up and do this? And any
So
tips for us?
yeah, so one thing that kept me motivated, I would say, is my brother. He is like he is younger to me, as in he's my junior. He's my junior. He's at IIT BHU. So one thing that I see, he, even being from a chemical engineering branch, is able to do all the coding questions like DS algo part, everything. So yeah, that is something which we guys need to see. Like, we are at CSE, but when you see EC people, chemical people, everyone is ready to code and everyone is good at coding. So that is one thing that we basically we have to be good at, like we do not have any other option. So one thing I'd say that kept me motivated is basically you should be having a peer parallel to you, or someone like whom you can share your doubts, with whom you can basically practice accordingly, or who basically, whenever, if you get stuck at any point, who's ready to talk to you and basically get you through that.
Yeah. So what should be a student's approach towards internship and how to apply and when to apply, all those things?
Okay, approach towards internship is like LinkedIn is one such thing. Like, I got my internship at Tata Steel. I got my internship at Prior to that, I got my internship at Goals 101. Right, both of those were through LinkedIn. So make extremely good connections in LinkedIn. Just search whatever company you wanna go to. Just you would be able to see people out there at LinkedIn. Just ask for a referral if you can. Getting a referral is extremely good thing. If you can get a referral, it would be very easy for you. Ask for a referral if possible. Otherwise, you can sort it out with internships there, and you can just apply to any company that you want for internships. So to me, I'd say personally, LinkedIn helped me a lot in getting internships. And if you are able to get a referral, that would be a cherry on the top. Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about the importance of LinkedIn. Here, another thing that is, student clubs and societies. So, how have student clubs and especially technical clubs helped you in your journey?
Okay, so in college, I remember I was the ACM content lead, and I was also part of Kalakriti till my second year. I wouldn't say it properly impacts your interviews or so, but it is actually an add-on, right? So the first interview question that you get is basically, tell me about yourself, right? So you would be going around all technical skills, but at last, if you add one extra line about extracurricular things, so that would be definitely an add-on, right? If 1 to 2 lines at last about yourself, that you participated in this, or you were like leading this particular team, that is absolutely an extra add-on. So, like, talking about, these things didn't matter much in Amazon, or these things didn't matter much for Razorpay, but for companies, like I would tell Deloitte, right? They look at these skills. They definitely look at your leadership skills, and these would be a very good example adding on to your leadership skills. These would definitely make you confident, and you'd get so much the habit to interact with people. And when you actually sit in interviews, right, and you would be having the conversation with interviewer, it would be mostly like, okay, you have had this before. Or else, if even if you're not part of these technical clubs, you can basically start that practice with your friends, right? You can just sit on, have one-to-one chats, have give demo interviews also. It would be fine. The only thing is you have to be confident, and yeah, that would make your things easy.
Yeah, your balance was very nice, Vidya. Like you balance your culturals and technical clubs together. Apart from
uh,
these, yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Apart from these two, we also have projects and internships, right? So, what matters more for you, like the projects or internships?
To me, I would say it depended. Like when I joined TCS, it was mostly about my projects. But when I gave my interviews for Amazon, they asked me about my internships. So it depends, but you need to have a balance on both. As in, you should have one, at least one good internship in your hand, and you should have two good projects. And if like a good project, by good project I don't mean you just copy it from internet or GitHub. That should be something different, or like that should be something very unique to have in your resume. It should be like that. And when I talk about internships, right, if no one asks you if it is a paid internship or an unpaid internship, but if you are going for an unpaid internship, right, uh, do not do that for more than a month. Like if they are not paying you, do not do that for more than a month. And if they're paying you, I would suggest just do an internship for 2 months or 3 months maximum. And then I would suggest the more you focus on yourself, like your growth, right, as in coding part and all, the more better it would be for you. So you should basically have a balance of both internships and projects in your resume.
And one question is, we not everyone can get internships at Google and Amazon, right? So people they intern at startups, small startups, which no one has even heard of. So do
Yeah,
such internships impact in your resume?
they do impact, like even if you're not like the things that you have mentioned in your resume, right? The work that you have done there, even if it's a small startup, but you have worked on, like you have built something on the website, you have you've pushed something onto the production line. It is visible to like hundreds or thousands of people. That is an extremely good thing, rather than going to a good company but you haven't learned much over there. So even if you get an opportunity to intern at a startup, go for it. Just it unless it is a very unless you're not learning, everything is fine. So if you go to a startup and you are learning very different things, like different technologies and so, and it gets reflected onto your resume, and the name of the company doesn't matter if you have done like a very good job over there.
Okay, so how do we land in good internships? Now, let us keep the company factor aside. In general, how do we land in good internships?
So there are two options. One is you just like apply for internships, right? One is the one that comes to college. I don't I think there were few internships that came to the few, like we had Amazon, something that came to our college. I don't remember. It was specifically just for women. So yeah, you can basically go for that. You have pretty much options here at college. You can get few referrals through your professors or so too. Even they would help you out in it. They would be very supportive, I guess. So, and the second thing is applying off campus yourself. That is something which would require a hell lot of effort. Like just give it some time, apply to companies related to your interest and so, and that would require some interview steps. Like it won't be easy, it won't be simple, right? It won't be like you apply for an internship and you get it directly. You would be having some technical round, some HR round for the internship too, if you apply off campus. So yeah.
And can you tell us any kind of roadmap? So what can a second year CSE student follow? How he or she can get started, and then how they can build their profile to fourth year?
Okay, so supposingly if you are in 2-1 right now, okay, so I would suggest you to have a like a decent CGPA should be there, right? Because if you do not have a decent CGPA, right, I won't tell you to have a 9.5 or 9.6, but something above 9, because there are few companies that come to our college and not everyone gets a chance to sit onto that. TCS CTO is one such things, like Chief Technology Officer. It comes to our college, and only like I guess only 30 15 to 20 students got opportunity to basically even apply for those. So have a decent CGPA, because if you do not have a decent CGPA, you won't be like, for you would be removed from few companies. Even when I sat for Amazon internships, so like top 50 from the college or top 100 from the college were given the opportunity to sit for the interviews. So that is something. Just first thing is maintain a very decent CGPA. I would not tell 9.5 or something. Something between 8.5 to 9 would be good. So that is one thing. The other thing is, if you are in your 2-1, just start with the coding basics. Just start basically anything, take any language, just start studying onto that. Just be good at one language at least. Practice DS Algo along with your college things. That is something that I think I missed during my time. I didn't get time to basically practice the DS and Algo part much. So that is something, practice that along with your college thing. If possible, give it more weightage when compared to college things. I should not be saying that, but yeah, that is required if you want to get into a really good company. And the roadmap would be, go maintain a good CGPA, just practice the things. When the time comes, like for internships, I like doing an internship in your second year is not compulsory, I would say, but if you have done, it's pretty fine. But the 3 to internship, start applying from your from your 2 to itself, I would say. Start applying, just start build your projects, like build extremely good projects that could basically, that you with which you can basically outstand other students. To work on your projects, if you are in your 2-2 or 3-1, you have time to basically work on your projects. So build your resume. That would be the only thing, because people won't know you, they would only see your resume. So that is your reflection. So build your resume as good as you can.
Yeah. Vidya, can we know something about your mini and major projects that you've done in your fourth year?
Okay, so the mini project, so my mini and my major projects were basically the same thing. The first part was, because I had two options. We get two options, right? Uh, when you do an internship in your 3-2, right? So you can even add that as your mini project, or you can basically take that as your mini project too. But I had my internships, and because I wanted that team skills or that thing, so I chose another mini project too. So it was basically on machine learning, because I practically saying I am still interested in that machine learning and data science thing. So it was basically, and it was the times of COVID, so we basically tried building this social distance social distancing alert system. So our final project was that, and it was ready, the model, and we got it evaluated also. So my final project was social distancing alert system. So there were few things that I could have done, but because I was interning at Amazon, I didn't pretty much got time to basically enhance that thing. So there were a few things that you get allotted faculties, right? They suggested me to basically integrate more stuffs like IoT with the project and take it to a different level, whether you can, so that it could be practically used in our college itself. So yeah, it was that. But because I didn't have much time, because I was doing an internship parallelly with my project, so so I didn't get an opportunity to basically make it practical. But if you are doing something that, so basically there were other peoples too who built websites, who built like many different things that basically are helping our college faculties day to day. Like someone, I guess, built automatic attendance or something, like you can basically count people in the Zoom meeting or something like that. So you can do those things, those innovative things. If you have time, you can just, it would be a great add-on.
So you mentioned LinkedIn, right? So I'll just ask that again. So will LinkedIn really help you get internships? And apart from LinkedIn, what other platforms would you suggest where you can go find internships?
So, LinkedIn did play a really good role. Like it can be different for different people, but for me, it did play a really good role. As in, I got most of my opportunities through there itself. Even you should have a bit. So there was this time when I was in my 3-2, I guess. So I got a chance to basically interview myself like at Google, but I didn't crack that though. But that was for Google SD. They reached out to me based on my LinkedIn profile. So basically the recruiter there reached out to me stating that, okay, you are at this college, we saw your CGPA. At that time I didn't have my Amazon internships also, but they still reached out to me on LinkedIn. It was it so for to me, LinkedIn has played a very good role. So make very good connections. Like you can basically collaborate people of different colleges. Like things are very virtual now, so you're not seeing your peers itself. You're not able to collaborate much with people. So it is something that would give you an opportunity to basically talk to people of other colleges, like people actually doing, if you aspire to go into a fan company, then basically you can talk to people who are actually working there, and you can basically contact just no one, it's like no one gets harmed if you just drop a message to them. People would reply back to you, and if someone is not replying, it's fine. But there are majority of people whom I reached out, they did reply back to me. I remember going for the Razor Pay interviews. Right before that, I just went on in LinkedIn, the Razor Pay thing, and I luckily saw one of our seniors who basically, I think, is a 2012 or 2014 pass out, with lots and lots of experience working at Razor Pay, like 4 years. He has a 4 years experience working at Razor Pay. So I just saw that tag, okay, Geetam University, and I literally just messaged him, and he was so humble to basically reply me back. He gave me his number, and I contacted him, and I basically asked him about the Razorpay. I wasn't so much doubt about joining Razorpay or TCS, but then he helped me so much. He gave me a good insight of everything. So it is never harmful to reach out for help. So LinkedIn would provide you that particular platform. And the second thing is, there are you can even go to a company's website directly to the career page and apply out there. I i know it would be difficult to get the direct response, but if you have a referral, you would get response. I have got tons of referrals through LinkedIn. I have got referrals for Microsoft. I have got referrals for few companies. But yeah, that is the thing. You need to interact with people, and you need to basically reach out for help. Then only someone will come and help you. They won't directly come and help you. You just have to just drop your resume onto them, just tell you, just no, if not referral, you can just ask them for like any particular help that you want regarding your careers. They would surely help you. And apart from LinkedIn, there are other like websites too, wherein you can basically just go and like there are many things. There is something called D2C. Even there, they have various opportunities coming up, various competitions. There was something I remember, Flipkart's challenge that came. Flipkart Grid challenge that came, it came on D2C platform. If you would have applied, so those are also a few platforms. Just just keep, just when while you're in college, just go for any opportunity that comes. Flipkart Grid challenge is something really good to have in your resume. While I was at college, So basically, I sat for IBM Hack Challenge. That is something that I had in my. So these things, these things help you outstand people, like make you different from others. So like I had IBM Hack Challenge in my resume. So I like, and you need something to talk about yourselves in interviews too. So if you have these things, you can basically talk about, you can go, because how much will you just talk about your technical skills, right? You should be having something different that, okay, you can at least give a 2 minute thing in your interviews or so.
So we usually do these internships in second or third year, right?
Yeah,
So we include them in our academics, like our academics and internships go
yeah,
simultaneously. So how
yeah.
did you manage your academics and internships?
So I would tell, in these things I had really good professors. They like literally supported me a lot while I was doing my internships. My entire 3-2 and my entire, I would say not my entire 4-1, my entire last year was all internships. Like I I was doing one internship at Goals 101, which is like I was a data science intern over there, which ended in December, and in January I started Amazon internships. So like throughout this entire thing, the professors were like extremely supportive. Like they were like, okay, you focus there too, but you have something over here at college also, right? It's just you have to like, because like when like earlier when I was in college, we had these core subjects, DBMS, networking or so. And like I know, like I've been through all this, that you miss many of the parts. Like like virtual learning is very different than what we learn in our classrooms. So you have to be like very much dedicated to both of these. So so yeah, I would say as in there has to be a balance, and there has to be good professors to speak out if you have any problem. Just speak out if you're not able to manage. Just speak out if you want any help with anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, so what can a second year student, like pre-final year or final year students, apart from these, second and first year students, what can they do apart from coding to build
Apa-
their resume?
okay, to build the resume, you can basically have good projects. Just so when you are in your second year, right, you have your chance to basically explore things. You can explore data science. You can like you actually do not you actually can figure out in which field you want to go. You can figure out web development or anything that you want to take up. Just take up a project, just build an end-to-end project. If it's live, if you're doing something related to application development, try and make something live on Play Store. I remember a few of my peers, they basically were very good at app development. They basically built Flutter application and tried to make that live on Play Store in their 3.1. So to do something of that scale in 3.1, you should have had the practice in your second year to basically you cannot just build an application in one day, right? You should have all the background knowledge. So basically you can go and basically get all the skills that you require in your first and second year, and then just give it a practical implementation in your third year.
All right. Another aspect is DSA, competitive
Yeah,
programming. So how
yeah.
important is it in interviews and in general?
So I would say if you want to get a really good placement, then DSA is something that you must be knowing. Like if you want to sit for companies, like you, like one of your parallels also, I remember someone got into Adobe, right? So yeah, so that is something she might have gone off campus too, but then the only thing that she must be really good at is coding. She must be really good at DSA or like competitive programming. And so like it is basically one, I'd say it is really important. You have to have that if you want to go for good companies. But like there are other companies like Accenture and all that come, that basically do not completely focus on codings. If you are good with basics, if you know the things, you will clear it out. Even in TCS, they do not ask data structures and algorithms in your coding round. If you're good at basic codings, you would get through that. But if you want to get a really good company or a really good product based company, it is a must thing.
Yeah, so is it compulsory to do any specializations to get into placements?
So, like when you sit for companies like TCS, right, you have to have one domain thing. So, as in, I had something, I had an data science or machine learning. So basically they roasted me in and out about that. So I mentioned in my resume that okay, I have done a data science internships, and like I have done a few data science internships, and like I have done these certifications, this that. So they basically asked me questions about that. So whatever is in your resume, they'll ask you basically about that. And talking about the specializations, if you are in your second year or if you are in your third year, just just you can just go for it. It's really good to have it in your resume. Like you would there are few things like in Udacity, right? Udacity offers very costly courses, but then you have Udacity scholarships too. Like there would be, you have to apply it through your resume also. If you get that scholarship, it's extremely good. You just have to go through the first thing. There'd be few tasks given to you in Udacity. If you complete that, you would be given a specialization course that is basically 50,000 or so, that actually costs that much. You would be getting that free. So there are tons of opportunities that you have to get, like you have to basically explore. And talking about specializations, you have to be good at least one thing when you sit at interviews. Either be good at analytics part, or you go for web development. Any framework you can choose and just start off with it.
And nowadays, the buzzword is FANG, right? The big five
Yeah,
companies.
yeah.
So there are people who, put all their effort to just get into FANG companies. So if they do not get there, but they have other good companies which they have gotten offers from, they still be disappointed. So what would you tell people like that?
See, it's not completely about getting into those five big companies. Even if there are many startups that basically give you much more money or much more salary when compared to these FANG companies. So it, these are not just the only options to go with. There are many companies you can apply off campus, on campus also. Really good companies like Microsoft and Amazon would be coming to college. You can apply for those too. And you should know, you like, time would make it straight for you. If you have good practice and all, you would be getting through something. You would get, it's not like you won't land, like with all the practice that you have or with everything that you have, it's not like you would be landing nowhere or something like that. So yeah, just go, just try and make yourself as much better as you can. And if you are good, any company would be ready to basically pick you up. And FANG is not the ultimate thing. There are many other companies that are doing better. Microsoft even does not come in FANG. I don't know why, but that is one of extremely good companies to work in. I seriously, it is my thing too to get into Microsoft. I don't know why I want to go to Microsoft, but I actually have applied so many times and I got rejected like few times in starting also. But there are many different things, like Microsoft Wise program, something like this happens in our college. But I guess because of pandemic, I don't know it's happening this year or not. So basically you get the chance to basically collaborate with mentors from Microsoft itself. You get to do a very good project, and that would be an add-on every time getting like getting something from Microsoft Wise.
So we have one common question that we are asked, that is tips on resume building.
Okay, so resume building, I would basically suggest the skills part, right, that you add over there. It's good to have any two good programming languages. If you're good at Python, it's also a thing. After that, there is something like you will have to add something like whatever is your industry ready skills. Like if you're good at web development, you should be having extremely good frameworks. Like people nowadays, like if you go for application development, right, people nowadays basically think of starting off with Flutter itself. So if you have those things, something that is different from others, it would be good. And whatever you mention in your resume should be ultimate truth. You should not lie in your resume, because if you get caught, it is extremely embarrassing and you would not be able to answer that thing right. Mention whatever you know in your resume, and just you should be really very strong at it. Have at least one internship in your resume, it is a must have. And have two good projects in your resume. One could be your college project, obviously, and one you can basically, if you apply for these competitions, right, Flipkart Grid Challenge, IBM Hack Challenge, you would be having Microsoft Wise. uh, there are many opportunities like these that keep coming up. If you have basically gone through those competitions, you can use this you can use those things in your resume as your own project. So you need to have two good personal projects, you need to have one internship, a few extracurricular things. And certifications, I would not tell you to add most of the Coursera certifications. Do not add most of the Coursera certifications. One or two Coursera certifications that are extremely good, you can add on those. But try and get there is this Red Hat certification that was during that you got offered from college, and I did RHCSA, and I would tell it helped me in my Amazon internship a lot, because uh, the Linux part, right, that was taught to me during RHCSA. So any such certifications, any different certifications would surely help. You can, and Udemy certifications, do not add those in your resume. You can add those as your skills on top. Whatever you learn, you can add those. You would be asked questions on those though, but do not add those in your resume. So yeah, that would be it.
And how do you think attending workshops would help us in our placements?
So, when you basically, if you are in your second year, right, it's like there are different domains. You have blockchain, you have data science, you have machine learning, you have web development, you have IoT, you have so many cyber security, you have so many things basically. And it's not like you would be aware of everything, but at least give it a shot. These workshops would give you basically the thing to explore the things. If it's a 2 hours workshop also, right, if you are in your second year, right, if you are in your second year, if it's a 2 hours workshop on some new technology, just go and attend it. You would basically, it won't be a time waste. I promise it won't be a time waste. It would basically be, you would be knowing one thing that can be an option for you. So attending workshops would be like, it would be good. Not I'm not telling you to go and attend all the workshops, but yeah, if you are in your second year, you should attend workshops. But that basically broadens your thing, the spectrum, that you can basically broaden your spectrum through it.
One last question, and that is it not okay if we are only good at one programming language like Python? So do we need to have multiple programming languages, or is one good
No,
enough?
no, you should be good at one programming language. That's what I say. If you are good at one, no one in your interviews, right, will tell you, if they give you a coding question, right, they would not tell you do it specifically in Java or do it specifically in C++. They would never tell you that. They'll give you the question and you can basically talk to the interviewer and just tell them, if it's fine, I'm solving it in Python, you would be good to go with that. So if you are doing Python, practice data structures, algorithms, competitive programming, everything in Python. Be a really good one in Python. If you're learning Python, you can basically explore you can basically explore things like pandas, and you can explore Flask and all, if you want to go for web development also.
Srinidhi, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Um, yeah, I guess that is it, Vidya. We
Okay.
have covered all the questions, like almost all the questions in the chat. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Vidya, for giving us such valuable insights about your experience, which I'm sure would be helpful for us and our juniors in coming years. Um, yeah. Before wrapping
Yeah.
things up, Shashank will give us the vote of thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm pleased to have gotten this opportunity to give the word of thanks. First of all, I thank our HOD, Dr. Sirisha Rodda, for extending her support and for helping us conduct this event successfully. I would like to extend my gratitude to our faculty advisor, Mr. Pranil Ankireddy, and our faculty coordinator, Mrs. Sindhu Poosarla, for guiding us at every step and helping us make this event a success. I would also like to thank Ms. Vidya Verma, who took time out of her busy schedule and shared her valuable experience with us. I'd also like to appreciate the effort of all IEEE XCOM members and core team members, without whom this event wouldn't have been possible. Last but not the least, I thank the audience for your patient listening and active participation. Your cooperation was the reason the event went so smoothly. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot. It like I would be really happy to help any one of you if you want anything. You can just reach out to me on LinkedIn. Yeah, that would be great. I would be happy to answer your questions. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Vidya, for that. And thank you, Sashank, for such a warm vote of thanks. With that, it's a wrap for today's event. And I'm Nidhi.
And I'm Sishank, signing off on behalf of IEEE. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vidya.
Thank you.
Abhiram.